When thinking of shooter games, fans' first thoughts are titles such as Doom, Counter-Strike, Borderlands, or Call of Duty, to name just a few, and though varying in gameplay and themes, together they would thoroughly define what the FPS genre is today, leaving little room for innovation. That is, until 2016, when Battlestate Games announced a new spin on the genre, Escape From Tarkov. Although the core of the game was an FPS, it would take a blend of RPG, strategy, battle royale, and even survival elements such as quests to complete and levels to obtain, and perhaps most importantly, loot to acquire. Tarkov would do away with the self-contained exhibition-style gameplay that had become standard for the series, where players are matched against one another and they select their loadout and battle until there's a winner, and then rinse and repeat. Instead, either from the players or the environments, the maps would have a plethora of loot to obtain, such as guns to kill enemies with, attachments to customize them, ammo with which to load them, armor to protect themselves, or miscellaneous loot to build up a home base, or even money to spend at a vendor for more of the same. Much like a battle royale, players would spawn into these maps. They would be given a limited amount of time to collect as much loot as possible, with the goal being to simply get out alive by traversing to an extraction point, and at the same time providing an overarching long-form character progression to encourage replayability. The gameplay itself is more reminiscent of the tactical style of shooter, such as the Rainbow Six series, where it isn't so much run and gun as it is properly equipping your character and map knowledge, and also assessing risk versus reward. The better items you bring to a match, the better chance you have at success, but at the same time, the more you have to lose should things go wrong. And so was born an entire subgenre, the extraction shooter, which would then inspire similar games of their own. Significant interest was immediately generated upon its announcement, and the game would enter its beta phase in 2017 and early access in 2019, where it remains today, 5 years later, relying on recurring wipes for its longevity. There's been a series of hitches in its lifespan so far. There have been some issues that would be expected of the FPS genre, such as cheating. It's particularly worse in Tarkov due to its more competitive nature, the obvious potential to lose items on death. There's more reason to cheat, and those victim to cheating suffer harsher penalties. Additionally, like with most pre-release titles, server issues would also persist throughout the game's development. But other than that, the game has been received quite well, and as one would expect, it quickly garnered a rather dedicated and hardcore community. The learning curve is extremely steep. The game basically throws you to the wolves, and leaving you to figure out things on your own, which is a design that's quite rare these days. And of course, with the potential to lose actual gear, it demands a lot of patience and perseverance to find success. Or, as it turns out, $250. On its release, Escape From Tarkov offered various forms of purchase. There's the $50 casual normie base version, which gives access to the game, and more expensive versions ranging from $80 to $160, offering various perks such as extra inventory space, a larger container to hold items that players keep even if they die, and these perks are already very useful, so the game already has this element of pay to win, some would say, but the players for the most part have looked past it due to the quality that was returned, and they more saw it as a way to support the developer in their efforts of finishing the game while getting some bonuses in return, although a courtesy that has worn thinner and thinner as time has passed, as the game inches closer and closer to the decade mark of pre-release. Considering the hefty price tag, many believed that the most expensive edition, the Edge of Darkness, $150, would be the most expensive package until its release. However, on April 25th, 2024, Battlestate Games released a post on Twitter advertising an even bigger package, which would replace the now discontinued $150 package. The Unheard of Bundle, as it's called, offers even more rewards, such as a level boost, told you so by the way, extra pocket slots to hold even more loot, higher reputation with traders, which opens up more things to buy, stash space, the ability to post more items in the in-game auction house, an additional exclusive hideout zone that lets you summon other players into your game, a discount on the in-game cash service, a unique melee weapon, as well as the AI enemies in the game not shooting you beyond 60 meters after reaching a certain reputation level with a faction, an exclusive single-player mode that's free from wipes, and also a free tuggy near the dumpster behind the bowling alley. Alright, did you get all that? This grocery list of perks commanded the price tag of $250, and on its announcement, from the price alone, the community was a little mad, one could say. But the true outrage didn't come simply from its hefty price tag. The edition it replaced, the Edge of Darkness, had been promised to contain many exclusive items along with free access to all future DLCs, but as Battlestate Games would soon argue, the things in the Unheard of package were neither exclusive nor DLC, even going as far as deleting pages and information from their website to cover their tracks.
They removed the word unique secure container. Dude!
In the list of perks, what used to be described as a unique secure container, this is the container that players can put items into to keep even if they die. This was also changed to no longer be unique, since this new $250 version now offered it. Additionally, initially it would advertise an upcoming DLC called Arena, which is a more condensed version of the game, focusing less on RPG and more on FPS, and soon to be integrated into Tarkov. However, after this announcement, and after the controversy exploded, they specifically removed mention of the Arena, presumably to muddy the waters of what exactly a DLC is. It's the classic bait and switch, selling an edition based on a promise and not only changing the definition of the thing promised, but also even going back and altering the dialogue and the terms on the web page after the fact. And since this edition of the game isn't even being sold anymore, the only conclusion one can make is that it was changed to cover their tracks. As stated, the Tarkov community is very hardcore and dedicated, and it would be unsurprising if the majority of the players who actively played the game had the most expensive, at the time, $150 Edge of Darkness edition, so they collectively felt the rug pull out from under them. Many refused to believe that an exclusive single-player mode, let alone some of the other perks, aren't considered to be DLC, and considering the removal of the Arena mode being a DLC in a version of the game that's no longer being sold, it seemed like the developer thought the same thing. In response to this controversy, they would double down, arguing the semantics of what a DLC is and what it isn't, with a Discord community manager stating that just because you all want it to become a DLC, it wouldn't mean that it is one, and that it's a featured game mode for the new edition of the game. And beyond all of this, cash shops and pay-to-win in video games can be a tricky subject, varying heavily not only on its intensity but also the type of game, becoming more and more impactful the more competitive the game is, and due to its tactical nature and the potential to lose items on death, it's hard to find a game that's more competitive than Tarkov right now. For many people, it's largely defined by it. Moreover, all of these items are digital, they cost nothing to produce, and considering that the game has been in a pre-release state since 2017, this would be the event that would finally wear through the already thinning patience of the player base. It seems that they would put a lot of effort into these new shady, exclusive monetized content than they were getting a game that's 7 years in early access to a finished release state. And as the veneer of goodwill wears away, so too does the benefit of the doubt from its player base. The game's director, Nikita, and a community manager were interviewed and probed for the reasoning for the move, but this only made matters worse as the responses were vague and short, to say the least. Some examples would be, are there any solutions being contemplated since the reception to the Reddit thread was not good? No. One of the most discussed subjects regarding the whole situation is the removal of the DLC line for the Edge of Darkness edition on the website. What? I'm reaching out to discuss the pricing of the PvE content, which might be high for newcomers. Wouldn't introducing more accessible options mitigate this barrier and prevent new players from seeking alternatives like single-player Tarkov? Regarding the monetization strategy, many long-standing supporters, myself included, are prepared to contribute more financially to support the company. However, I'm curious about Battlestate's BM in pursuing the new edition amidst potential challenges. Wouldn't focusing on cosmetic skins and non-gameplay altering expansions be a simpler and lower-risk strategy in terms of community engagement? We'll think about it. They went on to deny that they made any changes to the website and further stated that the reason why not everybody gets the single-player game is because it's technically difficult and too expensive, and also that there'll be no recourse for those who bought the Edge of Darkness edition and that they aren't forcing anyone to do anything, and overall that they believed that the situation was handled splendidly, essentially. So, considering that a magic 8-ball would have given as much insight to their responses, this wasn't received too well by the community. After more pressure, they would follow up with an update on the game's subreddit that the Edge of Darkness holders will be getting some pretty powerful perks to calm troubled waters, and they would indeed finally receive the PvE game mode for 6 months, whereafter it'll be taken away. This too wasn't received the greatest, as the community didn't ask nor want more pay-to-win features, the biggest concern being the device that allows them to summon friends during a match. What they simply wanted was what was promised to them, and that's the DLC for free, with no strings attached. In a follow-up post, they would reiterate that they don't see the single-player mode as a DLC, and gave more detail of the technical limitations they have with giving it to everyone. But because of community dissatisfaction, finally it'll be available to the owners of the Edge of Darkness edition when the game releases, right after Star Citizen. Additionally, those who wish to upgrade from Edge of Darkness to Unheard Of will receive a 50% discount, which would bring it to $50 additional as opposed to $100. And those who already upgraded will receive a free Left Behind edition key to give away or sell. They will also sell the single-player mode as a separate purchase, giving the Edge of Darkness owners a 70% discount if they don't want to wait for the release date. And finally, he shared that the perks from the Unheard Of version would be restricted in some way to lessen its pay-to-win nature. Overall, the response went over like a lead balloon, and the community is still quite mad, as they feel like they're still being gaslit on the definition of a DLC. And the real shame of all of this is that Tarkov is a great game. It would be one thing if it was some random shitty mobile game that nobody cared about, but this is a game that helped shape an entire subgenre, if not invented it. It wouldn't be where it is right now if it weren't for the hardcore dedicated fan base that went all in with these expensive editions in a pre-release state, as well as putting up with cheaters, server issues, and other controversies. Today, As always, we have the benefit of hindsight on our side, but to put a constructive spin on things, this could have been handled in many different ways. If Battlestate Games lacked the infrastructure or capabilities in providing a single-player mode to everyone, it shouldn't even be on the table. To only release it for a new $250 version without any warning or dialogue with the community, and then also changing the definition of what a DLC is, had no potential result other than disaster. Secondly, this is a game that has been in pre-release for 7 years and has faced as many wipes as my butthole on Taco Bell night, so efforts are expected to primarily be focused on getting the game to a release state, and then comes the additional game modes and features. And lastly, the most hardcore supporters were the ones who got fisted the most. Those who loved the game so much that they dropped $150 for the top of the top version. The real issue with this controversy is that there's this permeating feeling of betrayal and shadiness being dealt out in return of pretty hardcore loyalty, which is a bad move, not only just morally, but potentially financially, as for many, it's the straw that broke the camel's back, as even the most loyal are starting to disperse, including even content creators. Only time will tell if this will be a temporary setback for a great game with a dedicated community, or merely a sign of things to come. One thing is for sure though, and that's as the controversy continues and tempers continue to flare, many have begun to truly escape from Tarkov. Like the video if you liked it, because I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.